Hola Mycelia Familia, this is Doña Liz. Hope everyone um, is doing okay. Have been finding moments to go outside, rain or shine. Um, Today's topic, I want to talk about segregation. Um, when I hear the word segregation, I think of separating people from each other, um, keeping one person and the other apart from one another. Um, and I've experienced this a lot throughout my life. I've read about it in our history books, especially with the Jim Crow laws that occurred way back in the day. Colored people separated from white people. Um, but I just want to share the definition of segregation. So, segregation is the act of keeping people or things apart from each other. And there's two forms that I constantly see, which is the racial segregation, which is separating people into different groups based on race or skin color. And gender segregation, which is keeping men and women or boys and girls in separated spaces or roles. That one has been played a role in my life a lot. And I'm a person learning about identity. I'm a person who's learning about what's in the environment, in our community, externally and internally, and trying to teach my children what's safe and what's not safe. And I believe that currently, right now, there's a lot of racial segregation. Why? Because the Latinx community is taking a hit, especially in Southern California, where I'm originally from. And I say this because there's a lot of Border Patrol agents out in the streets right now. From what I've seen, my friends' families have been, been taken away into custody, taken into these quote unquote camps. And it's really hard to fight that system, to bring their relatives back into their home environment. It takes a long, long time. And I've definitely have faced segregation within my own, my being a person of color. Because I am obviously brown. I do identify as Latinx. And obviously my first language is Spanish. Well, if you haven't known yet, my first language is Spanish. And most of my time I have a hard time articulating my language in my head, because sometimes Spanish and English go mesh into each other, and I have to find a way to kind of, in a sense, try to differentiate between the two. And sometimes when I say things, it may come off in the wrong way, or I don't know, I'm doing my best to express what's coming within. And I know that I'm doing my best not to let this racial segregation affect me too much. I, like to see every person as a person, wherever you come from, you're a human being, and I don't discriminate. I try my best to welcome people into spaces. I try to talk to them about, what's happening in our environment, what makes them happy, what they like. I might ask them personal questions about their family. And that's just me trying to get to know people. Try to, understand their character in this world. Now, for the gender segregation, I have for sure been in this evolution of gender segregation. This has been going on for a long time. It still exists. You go to the doctor's office and you see a men's restroom and a women's restroom. Not all doctor's offices have that. There's some that says all gender restrooms, and that's really great. Honestly, I really appreciate when those signs are up, because it the whole men and women, it kind of brings me back to the back in the day where they separated people of color, where this is the drinking fountain is for colored people, and then this nice other water fountain is for white people. And it's just it sucks to see that kind of segregation going on. And I know that I've labeled people out there that I've met within my time frame, my life, whatever, and I've expressed some things that was going on and didn't sit right with me as a person who doesn't like to involve gender roles. I totally get that, there is a whole lot of traditional values in these roles, but I believe that whatever you identify as, you can do things as equally as any other person in this environment. For example, if I want to go and become a construction worker, I can. I have lately been seeing a lot of other people who are obviously in the form of their bodies that kind of look like mine, in construction, which is amazing. But I also know what kind of culture, that field carries, because my dad was a part of that work culture, and it's not the most healthiest. But I do appreciate the evolvement of racial acceptance and gender expression, gender identity acceptance, especially when it comes to welcoming any gender that comes into the space. And that's what I hope for my children's future, because I know for a fact that my oldest, I've I've seen people misidentify them, and then she goes, "What? No, I'm this." And I never would have imagined my own child feeling like, "What the heck? Like, why are you judging me because of my looks?" And I totally get that. I totally understand why people would judge, because I've also have been put in that same kind of position. Um, but then it just creates um, like a sense of judgment. And lately, I believe that I've been misjudged. Um, I appreciate those who have, seen how I am in whatever space that I'm in, and really got to know me, um, rather than believing some external source that talks about me, because that external source doesn't even know how I am in today's time. People evolve, people change. And I know for a fact that I'm still trying to develop my identity. It's gonna be a ever evolving evolution, if you want to think about it. There's this picture of the so-called, we used to be apes and monkeys or whatnot, and then the evolution of how we became humans. It's the same thing as how I'm going throughout life. Up until however long I live, if I get to live up to 80, my hair most likely will turn gray, or I will get wrinkles, or I will get thicker, or I will get thinner. That's the beauty of evolution. And I appreciate the people, the folks who are able to carry themselves with integrity, because I've met them and I've been taught what integrity looks like. Because I know I for sure at some point in my life, I've definitely questioned some things like, what the heck, like, who are you and what are you about, and why do you dress like that? Why do you act like that? But over time, as I came around that person or that group of people or community, I've gotten to understand, oh, okay, like, yeah, I see you now. I am learning to understand, and I appreciate your spirit, because it's important that I learn this new I don't want to say group of people, but I guess culture, because there's so many different cultures that I still yet have to know about, that I'm still going to learn about. And for the ones who have patience with my spirit in regards to learning, what's acceptable and what's not acceptable in their cultural beliefs and values and traditions. But there will be things that come up, especially in regards to gender roles, that I'm not gonna assimilate myself in, because that's not who I want to be. I can respect them, but I'm not willing to degrade my entity, my spirit, just to keep those people's, I guess you can say, give them a peace of mind. Now that just, that just, in a sense, would constantly make me, what's the word or phrase? Go against my own values. I know I'm a very valuable person. I know I am. Why? Because I have 3 little ones. 3. Who love me, who care about me, and at times smother me. And as long as they are alive, I'm alive. And I know my worth. I know my value. I know where it belongs. And that's with them. And whatever space that they enter and wherever they are accepted at, that's where I'll go. But as time goes on and as I see that, people don't truly accept my children, maybe that's not a space for us. And that's unfortunate. And I will share my experiences with others who may be in a similar position as me. But I do hope that as time goes on, things evolve for the greater good, the greater of the great, and for the better. Because I've been absent to keep other people's or give other people a peace of mind, to satisfy their peace. And honestly, there's a reason why I'm sharing these videos. This is my outlet. My outlet to share my voice, to share what my spirit wants to provide for the world to see, and for my children. Always going to be left behind for my children. Because I know, I've always said this, they too will learn how to navigate technology. And I want them to know that my kids, if they're able to be receptive about the language that I'm sharing, that you matter, your identity matters, express yourself because your expressions matter. Even if people out there don't agree with your ideas, your expressions are very valuable. And don't let anybody out there stop you from expressing your spirit. And I know I will find community. I will find it where I feel safe with my children. That's all I gotta bring to this table. Have a blessed one, y'all. Peace.